I've made a lot of, I don't want to call them mistakes. I've had a lot of really cool learning lessons from people that didn't respect my time.
Yeah.
And I call them energy vampires.
Ooh.
Right. And
Can I borrow that?
Yes, you can.
I'll send you a royalty.
It's $9.95.
Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hitstreak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. And folks, I got an extra special treat joining me in the Hit Lab today. It's such an honor to have him here. And I mean, literally, he needs no introduction, but I'm gonna give him one anyways. Okay, folks, this is the this dude is the founder of the Satisfied Life Foundation. He's a 2-time author. He's a member of the Wall Street Journal bestsellers list. As a matter of fact, my man Alex Peykoff. Alex, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate the opportunity. Super stoked. And we were joking earlier, but man, I am just blessed to be here, and I just want to share my story with all your clients.
Well, it's truly it's a believable story, but unbelievable seems like the word to use today, right? So, folks, a little bit about Alex's background, right? So, you grew up watching your father and your brother build Niagara Bottling Company into the world's largest privately owned bottling company, and that's kind of like the foundation for which you've done everything else, which is absolutely incredible. But like as a guy that, I mean, we're talking a lot. This is father to father talk today. You guys get to be a fly on the wall. It's spectacular, right? So father to father, my dad is the most influential person in my life. If he's at least one of them. He's on the Mount Rushmore if he's not the most important one, right? So, or influential one. Talk to me about your relationship with your dad, and I'm assuming it's your older brother. I should know that, right? Your older brother that you were watching. Younger brother. Yeah. Okay, let's dive into that dynamic. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, let's just back up a little bit. So we'll talk about my dad.
Yep.
My dad taught me everything, as far as how to succeed in business, how to accomplish things, how to not buy into other people's agenda. It's an amazing, amazing human being. You have to understand his parents migrated here from Macedonia to Buffalo, New York. Didn't have anything. But all he had really was work ethic. And with that work ethic, he said, I'm going to try to create a better life for my family. So at that time, California was a place for opportunity. So in 1963, he starts becoming a milkman. Then he becomes a waterman, and then starts the Niagara Bottling Company. Mm-hmm. Fast forward a little bit, it all of a sudden goes from a 5-gallon business into like these PET bottles. But the only relationship I had with him when I worked with him. So I always worked by his side, whether it was sanding coolers or painting trucks or helping design production lines. That was our relationship. It was more of a conditional type of love, which I was okay with because I was getting acknowledged for what my skill sets were. I didn't know I could fix anything. He just said, hey, look, you can. And if your dad tells you can, he believes in you. So that belief was enough to make it where I knew I could do anything. I was taught never to quit. I was taught to fail because when you fail, you lose. When you fail, you provide and you fail forward, right? So that journey was really complicated. But part of the thing is I was always emotional. And for me, it was a struggle being around my dad because my dad didn't show emotion because his whole thing was that's not productive to going forward. If you're being emotional, you're wasting time on productivity. It wasn't that he was insensitive because he loved in his own way, but it wasn't something that was shown.
Wow.
So that was a struggle for me. And that changed a lot when my daughter was born because I didn't want to be that way. I wanted to be emotional, but I also wanted to be very structured in how I did things. So when my daughter was born in December 7th, 1999, I realized, hey, you know what? I'm going to embrace this emotion. And I got most of that from my mom, which was dealing the emotion, trying to juggle both of it together. And so that's when I kind of combined the both of them. But without my dad, my ability to do what I've done today and to know that I can accomplish anything I put my mind to it, that's from my dad, 1,000%.
I want to dive into that a little bit because as an athlete, you're taught not to show emotion. Poker face is what was described to us a long time ago in the 80s, right? It was the poker face. So I totally get that, but I've also learned that emotion is what inspires. There's emotion carries a lot of vulnerability. It carries a lot of weight, right? And I think you got to have a good mixture of both to truly make an impact. Maybe talk to me a little bit about the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to that model, I guess.
Well, I think for me, I mostly saw the bad.
Okay.
Because that's what I was surrounded by. I didn't know about the good. I'd see the good from my mom. My mom was very emotional. She was very comfortable with expressing love and unconditional things. But going through that journey, I had to figure out, how can I embrace this emotion? Because I was taught it was a weakness. And I had to learn it was actually my superpower.
Okay.
And the way I found that out is I figured, what if I could practice this with somebody else? How would I get them to be comfortable in their emotions? And I figured, here's what I can do. What if I start talking to you about my feelings, my experiences in life? So now I'm making you feel safe. The more I tell you, now you trust me, because I'm going to tell you, look, I went through a brutal divorce. My daughter was a victim of a sex crime. And I'm telling you all these struggles in my life.
Yeah.
And now I'm being vulnerable. So now you're going to be vulnerable. And I started seeing it. I go, you know what? This works. This feels good.
Yeah.
And it's authentic, and I'm not pretending. And guess what? It's my truth.
Yeah. There's, my dad was in the music business here in Nashville for 30 years. And, before social media, really, celebrities never left the house without their celebrity getup on. Right. And now it's a little different. Now you get a little bit of both sides a lot of times. I've still never seen Dolly without the hair and the makeup, on, but she's a little bit of an old school. She's old school a little bit, right? So, but the younger ones, I know that I don't keep the skeletons, and I air out the skeletons in my closet all the time. It feels great.
Yeah.
I got nothing to hide. It's all out there. You know what I mean? But because they made me who I am today.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a culture shift. Is it due to the internet? Because my dad's generation don't live that way. They don't believe in it that much. And I do. I see the value in it, like you're talking about. Is it the internet that made that?
Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier, and I'll tell you what, the internet, I have a daughter who's 25, but she struggled a lot when she was 14 and 15, immensely. And when we were going through this journey, we learned it was the internet. It was social media. And, I've created my own term. I call it the Abercrombie of Fitch approach, which is Abercrombie was a store. They taught these kids to start wearing the shirts up and the shorts. And so now when you're raising a child, when they're younger, we are validating them internally. Okay. Social media starts validating them externally.
Okay.
So now they're having a different definition of unconditionality. Because when it's internal, it's unconditional.
Right.
When it's external, it's conditional.
Okay.
So their whole mindset changes on what love is and what feels good. So I saw that firsthand. So the answer to your question is absolutely social media. When I was talking to a gentleman who was helping my daughter from Johns Hopkins, he said that's what's causing it. It's the social media. They're looking for answers. They're finding truth from something else. They're buying into other people's agenda, and they're no longer telling themselves what their truth is, and they're no longer doing things that make them feel good. They're finding feel goods from somebody else, and that becomes their reality. They lost the perception of what their reality is, which is the most important thing. And now what they're doing is they're no longer protecting themselves. They're letting other people hurt themselves because they've gotten to the person where they don't value themselves. They forgot to sit there and pat themselves on the back and say, hey, I'm a good person. Yeah. They forgot to count their wins. Yeah. And now they're so concerned with what the other person is thinking. And I'll tell you a story, because this is, again, father to father.
Yeah.
When my daughter was going through these programs, she went to Hawaii for a month. She came back. She had a bunch of journals. She goes, Dad, and she met me in Utah. She goes, Dad, I'm going to read all these journals to you, and I don't want you to say a thing.
Wow.
Okay?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So hold on. What was your, all right. So I've never had that said to me before, but I can imagine all the thoughts that would start running when that happens. Talk to me what.
Yeah. So you go, I love her, and this is what she wants to do. I'm going to support her, and I can't judge her because that's not the right thing to do. She wants to share. She wants to quote what you just said, she wants to take all the skeletons out of the closet and start over. What she wants to do is, I'm going to say something different. We are the most advanced computers in the frickin' world. What she wanted to do that day in Salt Lake City, she wanted to reboot her computer.
Got it.
And the way she was going to reboot that is to get rid of all the crap. And the one person that she knew loved her unconditionally, I better reboot with Dad.
That's beautiful, though.
Yeah. So she started telling me stories and of how men perceive women at that age. And it was terrible. And she started talking about the interactions she's had with these men, that if she didn't do something, they pulled the car over and have her get out of the car, or they didn't love her, or they didn't like her. Wow. Right. And that's what happens. And that's social media. That's the internet. Okay. Our job as parents is to sit there and make sure we are not physically present, because anybody can be physically present, to make sure we are emotionally present.
Mhm.
You know, when they come home, we're not tired.
Mhm.
We're up again. We're going to sit down on that couch, hug them, watch TV. You know what we're going to do? Culture doesn't do anymore. We're actually going to sit down at dinner, put the mother frickin' phones down, and we're going to talk. Society and the internet lets this phone control children and older people, where they no longer know how to have a conversation about real stuff. How do you feel? What do you think? You know, do you like that? We don't have those conversations anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, what can I get from you? Okay.
Very transactional.
Extremely transactional. So that's breaking everybody. It's breaking the younger kids, but it's also breaking the older people because there's no connectivity. Harvard, and I'm going to get off the subject real quickly. Jonathan Haidt out of Cornell talks a lot about the disconnection and the dumbing of America. He blames it on the phone. Harvard did a study, 75 years. After 75 years, they found out what people wanted. And it's funny because you and I could have figured it out in like probably 5 minutes by sitting outside a bar or doing a tailgate party. But they discovered people want connection. We don't have connection. Are you connecting to the phone? No, you're not. And the only way you can connect at all is you've got to look in that mirror and tell that person in the mirror, you're okay. And quit focusing on all the crap. We focus on negative stuff. We thrive on negative stuff, but we've all had amazing things. And I'll tell you, we were talking about father to father again. I started going to court when my daughter was 2 weeks old.
Wow.
2 weeks old up until the time she got minors counsel when she was 13, until 18 when her mother could see her again.
Okay.
When I was going through that, I dropped down to 135 pounds. Wow. Keep in mind, I'm always around 200, right? Regardless what the ruler says on the nightstand, right? But that's the inside joke. Yeah, that's right. And during that time, I thought this sucked. Yeah. I really, really hated it. I really, really hated it. I mean, I remember a specific time we're in the courthouse and her mother has her and I hear her crying because the building was hot. I hear her crying, her eyes out, Dad, Dad, Grandma, Grandma, Grandma. But I look at that stuff today, even the ugliness that happened when she was a victim of some ugly shit. I look at it and I say, thank you. Because it made me who I am today. It made her who she is. And there's nothing you can do that will piss me off. Absolutely. Take your best shot, right? And that's what you need to understand. The ugliness that we call ugliness at that time, we're not looking at it through the right lenses.
That's right.
Everything's a gift. It's how you frame it. And unfortunately, we frame things the wrong way.
There's heard from the pulpit not long ago that gratefulness and entitlement cannot coexist.
Absolutely not.
And it's beautiful. You know, it's a beautiful thing. And literally like, so anytime my buddy Brad Lee said something from, he told a young man in his 20s this one time, and it really, really hit home for me. Check it out. Tell me what you think. So he said, he basically asked this kid, he said, how old are you? And the kid was like, 24. He's like, when you're 34, will you know more than you do at 24? And the kid was like, yeah. He's like, when you're 44, will you know more than you did at 34? He goes, yeah. He said, so obviously the greatest gift in life is a new day, right? Because without it, there's nothing else. He said, but really think hard about a new day, because if you do the same thing you did yesterday, technically it's a new sunrise, but it's not a new day. The ultimate gift is a new day. So when things are happening to you, they're happening for you. So like we were talking about literally like last night when the deer decided to run into my Jeep, like that sucks, man. That, you know, that it's a whole lot of stuff. It's a insurance claim, all these things, but I'm going through something for the first time today. And when I get through it, I'm that much stronger, that much more credible, that much more qualified to do even more as a leader of my own household. You know what I mean? And my son's watching the whole thing. These are skills that you only learn like by doing them real time. You know what I mean? You can't prepare for something like that, really. So, and I'm grateful in the fact that my son starts driving soon. He felt what it feels like to hit something. Yeah. And that is, if you've never felt it before, it's different. You can never feel it until you felt it, you know? So for me, it was almost like, I'm almost like looking up saying, thank you. Because now when my son drives, I'll be a little bit more secure in the fact that like he's had that first wreck before. Absolutely. You know?
It's interesting when you say that. I had a friend of mine who passed away in August of last year. He was a mentor of mine for about 30 years.
Who, can you say who?
Yeah, his name is Don Enright.
Don Enright. I was going to ask you who your mentors were.
Yeah, I talked about in my book. And, I was rereading some of his text messages that he sent me. Actually, I put him on audio, and as I was driving up from Mississippi, I was listening to him. And he says, no matter what you do in life, it's going to end. He says, but your job every day is to squeeze every ounce of joy out of every day Tomorrow's another day. Find that joy again. And he said something else too. Remember to be thankful. He talked about this all the time. Look, I'm going to give you a couple secrets in this world. 2 words, thank you and respect. Pretty hard to be unhappy when you think about that, right?
Agreed.
And no matter how much you're a healthy person, I'm a healthy person, no matter how much we take care of ourselves, it's going to end. You know, and if we obsess about all the negative things, it's the wrong mindset, because anything that goes wrong in our life, we can have a do-over tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we obsess so much about making sure everything's right and winning all the time. Here's another thing he said. You realize we only have to be right 51% of the time to win, but we're shooting for 60, 70, 80, 90. 51 is pretty attainable.
That's right.
But we put these goals out there so high. So the experience you had with your son in the car, is it part of life? Yes. But you reframe it the way you did, which is beautiful. You turned it into a teaching moment.
I want to thank all of our loyal fans that spread across all 50 states and 14 different countries. It's absolutely amazing. Folks, help us keep spreading the word, right? Share your favorite episodes with friends and make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the Hitstreak on all digital platforms. Thanks again, and we look forward to more. Alex, I heard one of the most powerful things ever. So first of all, every storm does run out of rain, right? So we know that. But my wife and I, really my wife, I met her through my wife, I guess it's been about a year and a half ago, lost a friend suddenly, right? And I saw one of the bravest things at that funeral that I've ever seen before. And since then, so basically her mother stood at the pulpit with her son, or with her daughter laying below her, right in front and below her. And she sat up there and she said, years ago, I suddenly lost my husband. And now I've suddenly lost my daughter. And my grandson sits out there. I think he was like 8 at the time. It's tough. She sat up there and thanked Jesus for trusting her to handle her suddenlies. It was one of the most profound and powerful things I've ever freaking heard. We lost her last year. But I will always remember her, and I will keep her memory alive with that one statement that she made from the pulpit, doing something that I can't imagine doing, standing over my dead child.
Yeah, I'll tell you this story, and I've never told it. Told it to 2 people. A few months before my daughter was a victim of a sex crime, we were out here for the CMAs and National. We're staying at the Gaylord. And she was still struggling because she was at that age, 14 or so. And she disappeared at me in the Gaylord. And for you guys that don't know, Gaylord's a massive hotel. And couldn't find her. And I'm reaching out to security. They're combing the whole property. And I'm thinking, she's gone. You know, she's gone. She's dead. You know, and they eventually found her. She was being very, very combative. I called this therapist that day, and I said, look, I can't keep her alive. She's going to die with the way I'm doing it. Eventually got her home, and that's when she get to go to Hawaii. But the thing is, I am grateful for those moments, but for someone to say goodbye to their child, my God. And I didn't experience it, but I experienced part of it. It's pretty amazing. You know, we were talking about some other stuff. We were talking about...
There's some Kleenexes down below you if you need them, right below that.
I don't need no Kleenex, okay? God, this is fake tears. Stop it. That's crocodile tears. I'm a man. Damn it. I told you I don't have emotions. Stop.
I sat in that chair last week in an interview, and I needed them. You know,
I can use my sleeve. No, just kidding. We were talking about the stuff I learned from my dad, right? And other people. And I kind of labeled that as emotional debt, right? You're told certain things that stop you from doing other stuff. And that's why I always tell people, you know, we talk about in that book, that emotional debt isn't who we are, right? Like I was told not to be emotional, right? And we talked about it a little bit. That is my strength, you know, and what your mother, what was it? Your mother?
It was friend's mother. Yeah. Carolyn was her name.
That is superpower strength.
Yeah.
You know, no one told her not to do that, but everybody else tells her, don't be vulnerable, don't be emotional, don't be this, right? But she did it. And here's what's really amazing. It impacted you.
Correct.
And so going through my life right now, that's what I'm trying to do. Let people know, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because it resonated with you. And you and I, we've been around for a while.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool that someone impacted you that dramatically. So for everybody out there, give yourself a permission slip to sit there and be emotionally present.
I couldn't agree with you more. And one of the things that I'm finding with, top performers, successful people in general, is they're getting more and more comfortable becoming themselves. I mean, literally, like folks, I want you to understand something. Alex, if you technically don't have to work another day in your life, I'm just guessing. I don't know that, but dude, you've been your entire family just reeks of greatness. You know what I'm saying? And success. And to come in, you're coming here. I just met you for the first time today. And for us to be able to talk about this sensitive of stuff, it's absolutely refreshing. And I'm learning that from top performers, that it's okay to do that, because when you're an underclassman, let's just say, in life, you want to look up and be accepted by those people. And I'm learning that, like, the more authentic and vulnerable you are, the faster that can happen. That's the fast track. That's the fastest way to get there, right?
Absolutely. But the problem is that, and first of all, thank you for saying that. This is when I made that transition in my life, because I've only been doing this stuff. That first book came out 4 years ago. It felt really good. Mm-hmm. You read the reviews, and I don't care if you're a gazillionaire or whatever you are, mm-hmm. you still have a certain level of brokenness. We all have a certain level of brokenness, right? But the way you're going to connect with somebody is sharing that brokenness together. Right. Whether or not you're a $7 billion company or you have $1, we're all humans. But the interesting thing is, he comes from this. They have jets, they have yachts, they have all this stuff. He's perfect. Really? Mm-hmm. Really? Mm-hmm. No. Our problems are magnified.
Yes.
Here's the great thing that money does at the level that I've been surrounded by. It highlights your weaknesses very, very fast. Very, very fast. People don't understand that. Okay. So yeah, it's different. So if I can tell people, hey, look, here's the reality. Forget about that money stuff and be present and create as many memories as you can. Okay. Because here's the thing. Financial wealth can be taken away. Mm-hmm. The bank can take your house. The bank can call loans. You know what the bank can't do? Mm-hmm. Two things it can't do. It can't take your education away, and it can't take memories. So F you, bank. Right?
Fact, baby.
I'm in control. And that's what people don't understand.
Again, it's just, this is such there's so many directions that a conversation with a guy like you could go, and this is like my sweet spot right here. This is what I care about. And this is like, I had it's been a crazy few weeks, and
well, you killed a deer, for God's sake. I mean, shit.
I know.
I don't know what we're doing here right now. We should be making venison or jerky.
I know. Or why? Yeah, we shouldn't be watching Bambi. That's
we should be watching Bambi, or I don't know.
Well, it's you're. All I can accurately speak to is the experiences that I've had. I can have opinions about a lot of things, but I can definitely have a fact-based theory about things that I've lived through. And that's all that I can help people with, is what I've personally experienced. Outside of that, I really can't prove, there's a million ways to do one thing or another. All I can tell you is this is how I did it, and it worked for me. And the people that taught me, they taught me this because it worked for them, right? So it's the track record. So it's again, gosh, Alex, it's just it's so refreshing to meet somebody that's, again, where you're at in life, and to know that Marcus Whitney is one of the founders of the soccer club here, and he said, "Dude, don't mistake my chapter 20 for your chapter 2." And I have the same problems. They're just magnified. They're just bigger, because there's more at stake, more lives affected, and so on and so forth. So, talk to me a little bit about. I want to get back to the family dynamic. So, your younger brother. All right. So, did your father look to you first? And how did that work out? How did the family dynamic play?
I don't know if it really was a looking type of thing. So we have a big family because it's kind of yours, mine, and ours. Mm-hmm. So my dad was married to my mother. That eventually didn't work out. My dad met another woman. She had 2 previous kids. My dad had 4 from another woman. Family merged. Then my dad and my new mom ended up creating 2 more children.
Gotcha.
Right? And so that's a dynamic. Some of us worked in the business. Some of us didn't. I was one of the ones that worked in it. And eventually my brother Andy graduated from SMU, very, very smart, almost identical to my dad, just ridiculously smart, had a really good way with people. And he took the company to the next level. He's an anomaly, but just really, really good with people. And going to back up to what you said, and this is how my brother Andy is. He knows what he knows, and he knows what works, right? Don't talk about stuff you don't know. Talk about what you do know. Talk about from your firsthand experience. And so what he's done, it's always been family. What Niagara's done, they've given a lot back to the community. I toured a facility of ours in Lancaster, Texas a week ago. It's 1.3 million square feet. In case the world wants to know, that's a really, really big facility.
Yes, it is.
And I don't work for Niagara. I'm not part of Niagara. My last name is Peykoff. My dad founded it. My brother works there. But I went on the floor and started talking to people, and they talked about how amazing it was to work for Niagara because there was a sense of respect and family. And they heard about my dad and what he did and what my brother's doing. And people were coming from Dr. Pepper, from Pepsi, and working for because of the environment. So in life, it's sharing those experiences and creating that safe environment where you feel good to people. That's what it's all about. And so watching that happen is impressive. And my brother Andy, is quiet wealth. Doesn't yell about it. In fact, he's made sure people kind of be quiet a little bit. You know, they have several Gulfstream jets. They have 2 mega yachts. None of them say Niagara on them. None of them say Peykoff on them. There's a lot of stuff they have, but they're not for show. They're for convenience and for practicality. That's his journey. And that's the journey that people need to understand. Just because you have these things, they're not to sit there and yell about. They're to create memories. And I'll say one last thing.
I love that.
2 years ago, Father's Day, one of the best Father's Day we ever had. We flew down on one of the jets down to La Paz, and one of the yachts was down there, and it was just the boys and their oldest son. I just went, I have a daughter, so she didn't go. But the time with my dad was amazing because we were talking about life in a neutral territory, right? There was no thing, and it was him telling us stories, and I'll tell you this story, and I'll get off of the subject. The yacht's off the shore of La Paz, and my dad's, at that time, he's 86, and he decides to swim from the boat to the shore because there's going to be a little beach party there. But, he puts on a life jacket and he swims. Later that day, we're sitting around dinner on the boat. I said, Dad, how long did that take? Because I don't know, but it was 273 strokes. That's how he's wired. It didn't matter how long it took. So he was counting because that's how he measured things. But it was sharing and telling the stories about his father when he left Macedonia to come to the U.S. And he said, look, here's what you guys don't understand. I told you the story before, but understand, Daddo is what we call him. He left Macedonia knowing he was going to never see his mother or his sister again. Because if he stayed there, he was going to get killed. That's the culture. And that's the stories. When you talk about what you've learned for somebody, you learn that anything is possible. Quit bitching about stuff. Quit comparing yourself. We were talking about comparing this guy's money. Stop comparing. Comparison is the death.
Yeah.
Just be thankful for what you have.
That's it.
There's stuff I don't have. And guess what? I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I love? And we talked about kids. I wake up every day for one reason. And it's for Mia, my daughter. That's all I wake up for. And that's the facts. Okay? I do like impacting people, but take her out of my life and what am I going to do?
Yeah, that's right.
Just facts.
That's
the truth.
So we talked about the memories and whatnot, and I have a theory about that because, they say time speeds up as you go through life, and I think I finally figured out why. So you always, I remember making a comment to my wife last year. I was like, dude, if we didn't have holidays, I wouldn't be able to remember anything. It's just all a blur. And that's when it goes back to what Brad was talking about with the new day. You do remember the new days. You just don't remember the days that are repetitive of the one prior, right? And I remember those when we were really, when we really started building what we have today. We started with nothing. We had a massive hole to climb out of. So I just went into basically just focus mode for 5.5, 6 years where I just didn't look up. It was work, family, work, family, work, family. That was it. No fun. Well, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't none of the, I didn't do golf. I didn't have any hobbies during that time, I guess I should say. But but that time flew by in a microsecond. And the only thing that broke it up was the holidays, the birthdays and the major holidays, because every day was the same as the day before. It seemed like it was a new day, but it was still spent in the same spot, in the same room with the same people for a long time. And that's what made time go fast. So if you want to, Dale's not here today. He's the one that helped to make this all together. But, I say that I'm the richest person here, but Dale's the wealthiest because Dale he gets a choice to be here. He's technically retired, and So he has the most time. I have the most money. He has the most time. So he's the wealthiest. And now I'm at that place where, like, you know, we could definitely do more with more money, but really what I'm chasing now, what I'm attracted to is the time. It's 100% the time. It's like, you know, the people that I surround myself with are to help me compound and collapse time so that I can make more and create more. So it's breathtaking to know, from, you know, for hearing from you that's like, we have that in common. You know what I mean?
Well, I want to say a couple of things. It's funny when you're saying that, I go, wow, that's so relative. Because, and maybe I'm wrong, but you can answer this question. I was in that cycle, right? But to me, it was passion. You were, when those times where you were all busy, you were passionate about creating something.
Yeah.
I assume there was passion that drove that. It was the driving force. When we go through life, people forget about that passion, and it becomes the same thing over. They're watching Netflix for 4 hours because they've lost their passion. More important, they lost their purpose. And when you lose your purpose, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. And it's just different, but it really is about just being there. So your story is great. And we talk about time, and I'm extremely protective of my time. And I've made a lot of, I don't want to call them mistakes. I've had a lot of really cool learning lessons from people that didn't respect my time.
Yeah.
And I call them energy vampires.
Ooh.
Right. And
Can I borrow that?
Yes, you can.
I'll send you a royalty.
It's $9.95 monthly subscription. It renews automatically in the second and third year. But I think that's what, guys, is that what we said? Yeah, legal says it's fine. Wait, legal's not here? Oh, sorry. Just my voice is in my head. But you have to figure out what you're doing and make it memorable. And again, like I said earlier, in our head, there's a freaking Blockbuster video store. Go back and look at those videos. That video of what you and your son did the other day, that's going to be a video that's never going to go away. It's amazing, but we forget about that. And we keep ourselves thrived in this thing. When you're emotionally broken, you focus so much on busyness because you can't deal with reality.
Man.
Things slow down and are more beautiful when you actually get it.
Yeah.
Right. But we're so busy, you know, and it doesn't work that way.
That's right. That's right.
And you have to have structure. Sorry.
Busy and productive are definitely not the same. And I had to learn that the hard way. I did.
Look, my mother passed away October 11th, and she was an amazing woman, but she struggled with a massive emotional debt. Amazing, amazing. The most happiest woman, but she had to keep herself busy all the time because she had emotional debt from things that were taught her when she was younger, and she never processed it. But she'd always have a calendar of everything to do. I got to do this. I go, Mom, couldn't you do all? Well, no, what are we going to do tomorrow? But that was her mindset. And so most people do that because they're never really fully emotionally present in what makes them feel good.
Yeah.
It's that simple. I told you, if it doesn't feel good, frickin' don't do it. You have a choice, but we overthink it.
I want to go back.
Back in black. Sorry.
I want to go back a little bit, talking about, you know, you and your daughter's relationship, because I got asked the other day, who was in an interview, it's like, who's, you know, if you go back in time and re-meet somebody for the first time that, you know, you've encountered in your life, who would it be? And I was like, dude, my son's my hero, man. Like, he's so much better than me. You know what I mean? That was about the time I pulled out the tissue over there. He's better than me. But I couldn't imagine standing over one of them. You know, I couldn't imagine that. And honestly, I can't imagine, I'm struggling with it, to go through what you and her went through together. And there's, you know, we've had some amazing people, I won't say similar, but with stories that could be categorized similar, I guess. How did you find hope in hopelessness, man?
I never really looked at it that way. I never looked at it that way. I looked at it, I've always looked at things as a learning lesson, how to make things better, how to improve. In my mind, and this image hasn't come up in my head in a long time, the day it happened, she had to go to the forensic hospital. That's where they take people that have had that stuff happen. And she couldn't look at me. She couldn't make eye contact with me. And I looked at it and I said, wow, this kid's freaking amazing. She thought she let me down. It had nothing to do with her. She thought she let me down. Yeah. That's what it was about. And so I look at her, and a couple of months ago, she went through a breakup, and she was talking about stuff. And then she tells me to meet this new guy. And she goes, Dad, I know you've always told me that I'm amazing, I'm resilient, and I have value, but you were just dad. But I met this guy and he validates me. I said, girl, I told you, right? So like you, she's my hero. What she's done, I couldn't do.
That's right.
She's happy. She's a fighter. She has all these amazing qualities. She got kicked out of the master's program at school twice, right? And she's figured out how to fix it, right? And so she's learned from me. But like you said, your son's a better version. My daughter is Alex Peykoff 4.0.
That's right.
Right?
That's how you know you did good.
Yeah. And I just look at it as proud as could be. And don't get me wrong. There's days where the phone rings and I'm like, okay, right? So now I tell her, look, call me whenever, but on Sunday, let's have our catch up on Sunday. So I don't think you're calling me because your heart's broken or there's a car accident or whatever. So I have that connected. But she's look, she was raised without her mom. Her mom in and out of her life. She was taught insecure attachment. She didn't know what her wealth was because it was told to her the wrong way. Right. But here this woman is. She's a beautiful woman outside, strawberry blonde, blue eyes, but inside she's a rock star. And she's so nurturing and caring. And I'll say one last story about her. This was 6 months ago. She found a squirrel that was injured. And she goes, Dad, Grandma won't let me take it in the house. And I said, okay, maybe go to the vet. She goes, I can't do that. And she calls me the next day. She goes, Dad, I'm so tired. I go, why? What happened? She goes, well, I slept in the car with the squirrel to make sure he was okay. Okay. So did I do a good job? I think so.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you have to look at what we've created. And if you can't find a glimmer and hope and some sense of pride in your journey, because my journey with her has been amazing, there's something wrong with you.
The Hitstreak is powered by our partners at HitLab Creative Studios. Whether it's launching your brand new podcast, rebranding your current podcast, or taking advantage of any of their other content packages specifically for your social media needs, the HitLab is a one-stop shop for you. Visit hitlabstudio.com for more. For me, parenting comes down to basically two simple points. And as a man of faith, it's important that my kids have a relationship and know Jesus Christ. If that's number one. And number two, if we can teach them how to learn the skill to make choices that are in the interest of what it is they feel called to do. So when you're making tens of thousands of choices a day, most of them subconscious, it's hard to realize that, I probably could have went to bed 30 minutes earlier. I probably could have not drank the beer or whatever else because it didn't take me closer. It took me further away from my goal, not towards my goal. But at the same time, I remember when my son was learning how to ride a bike, we took the training wheels off, and of course I let go, and dude, he wiped out, and it was ugly.
Another deer?
It was, it would have been better if there was. Yeah. Road rash everywhere. He got up, he's crying. There's literally the blood running down his legs and everything else. And the first thing I did is run over. I was like, "Get back on the bike, dude. Get on the bike. I ain't got time to clean you off. Get on that bike before fear dominates what's happening right now." Right. And it wasn't 10 seconds. He was driving around with tears, but he's smiling now, grinning, and the tears are of joy. Dad, look, I can do it. I can do it. Now let's get off and clean you up a little bit. And people have roasted me for telling that story. You should.
I'm going seriously, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? But then I started really, it's a good story.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Let me say something about that. They talk about fear a lot. Fear is not real. So what you did is you let your son know it wasn't real. Mm-hmm. See, it was a moment. Fear is an emotion. It's not a fact.
That's right.
So anybody that's roasting you, give them my phone number.
Gotcha.
I'm going to go over there with a banana and smack them upside the head. Okay. Because I don't want to get sued for legal purposes, obviously.
That's
right. But that's all it is. And you people focus on the wrong things. And you were talking about choices. Yes, we have 1,000 choices out there, but you have to, and we're talking about parent to parent, father to father. People need to let their kids fail. The only way they're going to learn is fail. And if they have our DNA in them, guess what's going to happen? They're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. They're not idiots. Mm-hmm. So I had to learn to let my daughter fail. And when she was struggling before, the therapist said, look, I don't know how many times to tell you this, but as soon as you quit bailing her out and you start letting her fail, it's going to be over. And guess what happened? Like, oh, wait, she's a version of me, but like we talked to her, she's a 4.0. She does it faster. She recovers quicker, faster than I do. She just moves on. She pivots way quicker. She reframes quicker. She doesn't hold on to crap. She just moves forward. Her thing is like I told her, if it doesn't feel good, she stops doing it. It's really crazy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So aside from your family, talk to me a little bit about what like really like motivates you, man, because like, you know, for me, what truly motivates me is my family. I want, you know, where my granddad came from and where my dad ended up, it was a big gap in improvement. Right. And my job is to do that again. And then it's my son's turn, and every generation has to get better than the one prior, right? So there's generational sins, there's generational wealth, but all these things get passed on from one generation to the next, right? All these inter-family dynamics type things, right? So when it comes down to like, for me, what motivates me is like, I want to show my kids that like, dude, at this point in my life, bring it. There's nothing intimidates me at this point. You know, as a matter of fact, every loss, every lesson, like I've learned now to say, all right, like, you know, last night, you know, another insurance claim, you know what I'm saying? But I found a way to be grateful for what happened, but I've learned to do that in everything. It's like, all right. And I do that usually when I'm doing some physical stuff, working out or something like that. It's usually when I get that. So when I go in, it's like, all right, God, I'm listening. Like, this is here for a reason, and I'm excited for what's on the other side of this. You know, I'm excited to work through this. That one thing not only changed how my day goes every day, but now it's starting to, people are starting to become attracted to that. They want to be a part of something like that. They see that strength and that confidence, which is so important, you know. Talk to me a little bit about like what motivates you at this point in your life.
I just want to back at what you said. They're motivated by this weird thing called your truth. It's your truth. So what motivates me is probably a little different. You know, life is good. Life's amazing. Life is spectacular. Impacting people, the high from that is next level. It's absolutely next level. So I heard Brooke Thomas. She said, she defined the word impact in one of the most brilliant ways I've ever heard. She said, you make an impact when you take your God-given uniqueness and apply it to the marketplace. And I was like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Because at the end of the day, people have to be consumers to consume it, right? So if you give it away, and I've learned that too, if you give it away for free, they won't value it.
Absolutely. And it's the first, you know, so there's got to be a little bit of, everybody's got to have skin in the game. So I love that word impact. Let's stay there for a minute. You could like talk to me about let's talk about your father's impact a little bit on you. Your father's impact on you.
Well, there's different types of impact.
Okay.
And I think people don't understand it. Impact, there's positive impact, there's negative impact, but all those impacts impact you, right? So my dad, from a business standpoint, on how to get things done and to make money and save money and be a problem solver, that's my dad's impact on me. Okay. My impact on being able to protect people to the ends of the earth, that's my dad also. The impact when he would say, you know, quit mumbling, you're crying, you know, we don't have time for that. That's another impact. But it was an impact that made me realize it's my superpower again, right? But were there some negative impacts? At first I thought there was. And I'll give you a story. One time we're in court with my daughter's mom, her name's Michelle, and I'm with my attorney, and my dad sits down and I go, hey, how you doing? He goes, well, I'm here with Michelle. I got her an attorney. So he was paying for my daughter's mother's attorney.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, wow, that's pretty effed up impact, right? And so I go, wow, what a piece of poop, right? But it was a different impact for him. He wanted to see his grandchild. He felt he wasn't able to see his grandchild. So what that impact for me was, he had his beliefs and he was going to fight for his beliefs. That's impact also. So he taught me that what you believe in and what your heart's telling you, and as long as you're keeping that communication shorter than really long, fight for it and do it with purpose and principle, and that will lead to prosperity.
You know, obviously there's victims of crimes that, if you're no longer here, if somebody kills you, that's, you're a victim, it's hard to, you can't be considered a survivor of that. But I learned from a young lady who had been the victim of sex crimes. She said, I'm not a victim of those. I'm a survivor. And I thought, it's just like at the end of the day, life is just truly about perspective.
Yes, I agree 100%. The problem is you got to put it in the right perspective. It's reframing it, right? Again, and I even talk about it in that second book. If all that stuff didn't happen to my daughter, there's no way I'd be here right now. Yeah. It wouldn't happen. I've impacted thousands and thousands and thousands of people. There are reviews online about my second book, blow me away. That's because of something happened to my daughter, and I had to call that decision day. And it was D-Day, decision day. I had to realize, what the frick am I going to do with my gosh darn life? Because what I'm doing right now sure as hell isn't working. It's not working for her, and it's not working for me. So thank you, right? And that's how you go through life. But if you're going to have that victim mentality, it's not good, because you're going to let that victim become victimized for you. And you don't want to run your life that way. Take it as a learning lesson. Everything in life's a learning lesson. And in that situation, okay, did I put her in that situation? Yes.
Yeah.
Was she trusting and innocent and a little 14-year-old? Yes. Did the mom who was supplying alcohol have some issues? Yes. That's always going to be out there. Guess what? Now she's smarter to know certain things. And not everybody's good. That's right. Right. So now you're a little more guarded. Doesn't mean you're not going to be vulnerable and sensitive, but now you're a little bit like, and you're starting to detect psychos out there, or the broken people. And you start protecting yourself from the brokenness. Or again, I call them vampires. And you don't want people's brokenness to come on you, because their brokenness will stick to you, and you got to start scraping it all off. That's right. And now you go back to time. You just lost that time. You're never getting that time back, ever.
I will say that the one thing that I've learned from most of the high achievers that I've spent time with is they are the best at managing their time. They get the most out of 24 hours. They get so much more than...
Wait, there's only 24 hours in it? Shit, I thought there was 27. That's weird. All right, sure.
Well, they do. You guys have just, again, and even my son at 15, he's been time blocking for 2 years. We call it his power list. Every night before he goes to bed, he's got a map, all his critical tasks for the next day, put them on the thing. Like, again, we get the most out of your time. If hanging out is a part of your day tomorrow, well, how long? And let's make it intentional. You better hang out better than you could ever, the best you could hang out all at that time during the day. And then when you're doing other things, make sure that's your 100% your focus, and you're dialed in and getting the most out of that as well. So you can be the best teammate for your baseball team. You can be the best, bandmate for your band. You can be the best student for your teacher, or you be the best friend for all the friends you got, and so on and so forth. It's just being really intentional with the time and whatever it is that you're doing. Because I know I used to get sucked into this sucker right here.
Yeah.
Scrolling, man. Yeah. And like, I saw a thing the other day that says if you spend like 3 or 4 hours a day on that sucker times however many days a year times however many years of your life, it's like, man, when you do the math, it's really startling.
I'll tell you a couple things. So there's some studies on that. And so what I found out, it was controlling me. And I found out that, I learned this again from Don Enright. I go, I really only need a certain number of phone calls coming in, right? So I have 5 on there, 5 favorites. The rest of them go right to voicemail. Then what I do, which is really cool, when I'm in my good spot, I'll go through that and I'll call people back on my time. I'm not letting them impact my time, right? And that's what it's all about, is making sure you understand that and appreciate that value. Again, you're talking about what your son does, and that's amazing what he's doing. They call it executive functioning. But more importantly, it's accountability. He can look at that list, then tomorrow he can see it again. And did I do it? As a culture, we're not holding ourselves accountable anymore.
I keep telling him, I'm like, because sometimes he'll be like, yeah, I'm going to be in bed by 9:30. And he walks in there at 10 o'clock. I'm like, dude, like, if you continue to lie to yourself over and over and over again, there's going to be that point in life. Let's just say it's in 2 months from now, game's on the line, you're in the box, and you tell yourself, I've got this. Well, if you lied to yourself all day long, every day, how does your brain know to believe you in that moment?
Yeah, it doesn't. So what you're doing is that lie is becoming your truth and your reality. And that's what people don't understand. What we put out there is how we perceive it. So you start telling yourself, hey, I'll give you an example. growing up, you stutter when you talk. You're a terrible writer. You're not good at math. I heard that all the time. You know, I found out that, I'm interested. I wrote 2 books that are selling really well. I found out I'm a natural when it comes to public speaking. I speak on stages with 10, 15, 20,000 people.
Dynamic, man. I got to tell you. I went and looked at some footage. It's dynamic.
Yeah. And so why was I listening to that? Right? But going back to your son, he has to hold himself accountable. And for him, if I met him one day, I'd say, look, 9:30 is your target, but you've been hitting 10. Let's shoot for 9:45. Okay, let's try that for a while and see how it's working.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter used to do that. Well, I'm going to bed at 9:30. And she goes, well, I was in bed, Dad. I just wanted to sleep. I go, well, let's redefine it.
There you go.
Okay, let's be clear on what we're doing because I don't want any leeway, right?
Yeah.
We said that door is yellow. It's yellow. It's not beige,
Yeah.
right? Let's stick to the facts. And that's the problem. No one's holding anybody accountability or find out exactly what did you mean. And we'll go back to the phone. Quit texting. Call people up. You know, I leave people video messages.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, and usually I'm topless, but that's just me.
I haven't got one of those yet, though.
Well, I'm still waiting for the piercing to get done, but that's just me. You know, but you know, it just takes time.
The Hitstreak is powered by Team Hyder. Team Hyder has been serving you for 11 years and has racked up over 20 national and local awards for excellence in all areas. When it comes to finding the right health plan, we need to consider your family's needs and your family's budget. That's what we do to serve you. To look further and to book an appointment, visit teamhyder.com.
In the beginning, it was, but you know, who can we ask to come on this thing? You know what I mean? And you know, around episode 100, all of a sudden the people we wanted to have on, and then the people inquiring about being on it, kind of merged, and now all of a sudden we've got this great list. It's like, all right, so you know, we're 6 figures into this thing. How can we monetize it and start to get some return on investment and so on and so forth, besides just network and relationships, right? So, and so we started, you know, people could apply and there's a fee to do that and all these types of things. But now I'm training the people to book this. Okay. So we went from pretty much being at everybody's beck and call, so to speak, bending over backwards maybe just to accommodate, to all of a sudden now it's like you said, it's like I got to protect my time, so on and so forth. So now I'm that's probably one of the biggest, probably one of the hardest things that we're working through right now is the people that control my time and are supposed to be protecting my time. Sometimes they want to protect everybody else's time first, and the customer. It's almost like what's the customer's always right. It's just so middle class. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a mindset. It's a mindset issue. How could you help me work through that? Like, without running these people off and letting them know that like you're just wrong.
Can you dress them up in a deer outfit and hit them with a Jeep?
I could.
Okay. No, so honestly, what I would do is, and I've been in that situation, and I just believe there's a circle, and you have to find out what your circle is. And from just talking to you for a little bit, your circle is your 2 sons, you and your wife, right? And your job is to protect that circle. You also talked about time, right? And I call it moving the needle. What's it doing for your life? What's it doing for your family? Is it getting you closer to your son? Is it getting you closer to your other child and your wife, right? All these people want something, right? But they want it conditional. Are any of these people doing it unconditionally?
Got it.
And I would go back to unconditional. Look, and I talk about it in that second book. I grew up with things, and even up until the last few years, people wanted stuff from me, and I thought they were my friends. You know, and I've lost large sums of money, and I've lost people I thought were friends, but they were acquaintances. So I found out people aren't who they say they are. Right. And I had to start having the conversations like you and I had in your office: safety, trust, vulnerability. I had to get to know them because, more importantly, I value my time. I can't get it back. It's okay to be nice to everybody, but you know what? I got to be nice to me first.
That's right.
And I can't make everybody happy. I'm not Jesus. Okay. I mean, if the hair is longer, maybe. I just don't want holes in my hand and being up on a cross. It's uncomfortable, you know. But I mean, the lady at that club said it was fine. But sorry, wrong show. Sorry, my mistake. But being serious, you have to find out what's important to you. And you've already said it. Your family's important to you. So here's your choice. You can go hang out with the kids and the wife and go do whatever you want to do, or you can go do a podcast for a couple hours and miss some memories that you're never going to get back.
That's right.
You're never going to see your son for the first time drive a car. You're never going to see the other things happen in your life. It's never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Your time is in your possession. Quit giving it away.
Mm. It's so refreshing to just be around. Like I feed off of people like you all the time.
Me too.
And it's just so refreshing, the perspective and just how you take what you do seriously, but not yourself. And I agree. And once I learned that, it was like there was a weight on my shoulders I didn't even realize I had. And it was heavy, man. It was so heavy. And it was so unnecessary. It solved nothing.
No.
It solved nothing.
It's interesting. You look at some of the people that have lived a really long time. Lucille Ball. I can't believe the guy that did all the comedy shows, 103, for his name. Everybody that's lived a long time, you know what they have in common?
What's that?
They're all freaking happy and sarcastic, and they laugh a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
They laugh at each other. I'm the craziest dude ever. I do stupid stuff. I'm 60 years old. I act like I'm 20.
Wait a minute. What? How old are you again?
60.
Bro.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What? I got to know what you're fountain of youth.
Animal porn. It's amazing stuff. But I mean, sorry, whoops. Sorry, we're in Tennessee. I meant, I don't drink caffeine. No, you know what it is? Honestly, I'm passionate about sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really am passionate about sleep. I sleep, I laugh, and I keep myself hydrated. And I don't let the negativity get in you. Negativity will kick your ass.
Yeah.
People that are dying, they're dying because they're negative. Happy people that are broadcasting happiness and you're smiling. You see the old ladies out there, they're happy. You see the old men, they're happy. Mm-hmm. Just be happy. Yeah. It's free. Go outside, smile at somebody. You're going to change their life and it costs you nothing and it feels good. And I'm going to say one last story on this subject. Mm-hmm. I was at a health club a year ago and this woman walks out of the building because the health club's on the bottom floor. She's wearing this really colorful flowery dress. I said, wow, that's so springy. She looked at me like I just said she was a fashion model. Mm. She goes, I just got it over here. It matches my earrings. Pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I took her energy of happiness, filled my tank a little bit more.
That's right.
That's all it is.
That's right.
You got to protect your time. You talked about it. Protect your time and be happy.
Yep.
And there's a lot of ugliness out there. You shared, I got ugliness with my family. I was telling, I got a lot of ugliness out there, right? Yeah. But it's their ugliness.
That's right.
Don't let other people's ugliness become your ugliness, or albeit, because this is not PG-13, don't let other people's shit become your shit. Don't even invite it in. Because as soon as that shit gets in there, it's a poison and it's going to sit there and infect your brain, and trying to get it out, you're screwed.
My granddad used to say, if you sit in shit long enough, it stops smelling.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad used to say something like this. You know what? You want to be crazy? Hang out with crazy people. And you won't even know you're crazy because you're hanging out with crazies.
That's right.
Going back to your say, if you're gonna have all these people on, are they doing it for you? What's are you getting something for it? What's the upset? I'd rather go hang out with talk about your family. I'd rather go hang out with family. I'd rather go hang out with my daughter. Mm-hmm. Could get killed tomorrow.
That's right.
I don't want regrets.
That's right. That's exactly
regrets kick your ass.
That's right.
So I'd take the time out, reevaluate what you're doing, what your master plan is, what your legacy in, and just do it.
Dude, this is so cool, man, because I'm such a, when it comes to as a man of faith, like Alex, like we are in, like there's been some projects that I'm involved in that are bigger than anything I've ever done. There are multiple ones, and they're all like, most of them are a couple of years in and we're right at the finish line. It's the hardest at the very end, right? So, and like that's, it's almost like you were put, like this is one of the most last minute episodes we've put together. A lot of times this stuff's booked weeks, if not months in advance, so on and so forth. Dude, it was like you are literally put here. Like this is a God thing for me, man. I needed this. I'm such a different person after this conversation than I was before, because like, I'm not gonna lie, today was a heavy day. It was a heavy day.
So here's how my life is. It's pretty freaking amazing, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, I don't have words right now because I'm crying, but I'm just me.
Yeah.
And I called Justin and say, hey, by the way, I'm going to be in this area because he's been asking me to be on his show. And then I come up here. I don't say no anymore. If there's an opportunity, I'm sharing. And if I impacted your life, look how easy it was. Mm-hmm. Pretty freaking awesome, right? So if I die tomorrow, man, I just shared with somebody And on top of that, they were respectful, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So now my journey, you now have part of my journey in you, which is really freaking spectacular.
Agreed.
Right? And that's what it's about. But you have to sit there and take the step forward. You were talking about fear. You can't live on fear. Just do what you want to do. Quit thinking about it. Everybody thinks way too much about stuff to do. Just be and make it happen. Quit procrastinating.
When Dr. Justin hit me up, and big shout out to Dr. Justin Mosley for helping make all this happen. When he hit me up, the studio was packed all day. I was packed all day. It was so easy to say no, and but I didn't. It was like I told him, all I said was I don't know. Let me look into this. You know, because again, I'm like, people like you just don't fall in your lap very often.
Well, at the club. Oh, sorry, wrong show again.
It's true though. People like you just, I mean, you know, it's, and another thing that as we kind of get to the end of this episode, you know, I have this theory too that, you know, there's always those folks, there was, especially in sports, there was always that guy that was just born with all the gifts and he just never could put it together. And in my mind, because as an athlete, I played at an extremely high level, top 1% in the world, but I didn't make it. Okay, and it was because I didn't learn how to set goals properly. I didn't, or the right targets. But more importantly, what everybody else saw in me, I saw something different. And it's that when those two worlds collide, that's when greatness happens, right? And so again, I'm still learning. I'm in the heat of it, baby. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're right in the middle of it. And to get this there's always those people that sometimes when they get in the room, you can tell they shouldn't be there. And then there's sometimes that people that everybody says, how'd that person get in this room? And then they get there and you're like, they belong here. They belong here. That's what I'm starting to learn is like, you know, because technically if you just put, let's just say, business success to just what's on paper side by side, you and I are not even in the same universe. You know what I'm saying? But we get in the room together and we're just two dudes, two dads, and there's a lot in common. And I feel comfortable in this room right now. And that's what I'm starting to learn about myself. But you also bring that out in people.
Thank you. That is one of the gifts I have. Anybody that you talk to, I have this gift that I just make people feel safe and comfortable. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. People talk a lot about politics and the ugliness of it. And bottom line is, you have to find out what you have in common, right? What do we have in common? Mm-hmm. We're parents.
Yep.
Right? Then you start finding everything common. But people focus so much what they don't have in common.
Yep.
Right? But you got to put yourself in that room. I was in Dallas a week ago. I don't know when it was. It's this fundraiser for Texas to Mars. And there's a woman in there. Seemed really cool. Seemed kind of out of place. I'm yapping with her. Well, she was Jeanette Epps, one of the most famous Black African-American astronauts female in history. Mm-hmm. And I'm just yapping with her. And we're talking. And a day later, a friend of mine calls me and says, hey, by the way, she thinks you're amazing. Where do you get your energy? She totally is thankful that you're going to help her write a book. So I was in the right room. She was in the right room. She didn't know she was in the right room, mm-hmm. but I let her know she was in the right room. And I changed her life because now she's coming out to LA to do some speaking with Meltzer and she's going to be doing a book. That's how it works. But you have to put yourself there. Mm. You have to take your head out of your ass for a second and realize you're kind of cool.
That's right.
But we forget to tell ourselves, kind of cool. Look, you've created life twice. Mm-hmm. Kind of badass.
That's right.
I've created life once. Kind of badass. Kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Kind of a win.
I'm so glad you brought up David Meltzer because when he sat in that chair, he looked me dead in the face. He said, "Nick,
get Alex Peykoff."
He said, "Nick, you need to get better at asking for help." And I was like, "You're exactly right. I'd struggle with that. I love being the one that gives help and have a hard time receiving." He was like, "Yeah, but the gift that you get when you receive that thing, that's going to be probably the next thing that somebody needs for help. Like until you can learn to complete that circle, you're missing some very important things."
I agree with them. I think it's hard to ask. You know, I grew up in a way where you share mm-hmm. and you just give and you impact. Going back to your impact word, so it's hard to ask for things because I'm just not used to it. I've come from such a healthy abundance mindset of the totality of who I am that I didn't feel like asking anything. I don't think I needed anything.
Yeah.
But I found out it wasn't that I needed anything. I did need one thing. I needed a connection. And when you ask for stuff, you get connection. It's not asking for material things. It's asking about, how are you?
That's right.
What are you doing? And now all of a
That's
sudden, then things that happen. I'm helping this young kid. He's 26 years old. And when I first met him, he was all money, 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 money. And he was getting turned down all these deals. I said, you used to be a world-class bodybuilder. Every man out there wants to be fit. I go talk to this guy and talking about health. All of a sudden, now they're talking about health. And now the guy's going to help with his business.
That's right.
So he had to ask the right way. What do I have of value that can impact you? Right?
That's right.
I have a journey with the experience with my daughter and other things that I can share and save you some of those hiccups. Right? It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Absolutely. All right. As we get to the end of this sucker here, because time has literally flown. I could sit here and hang out with you all day long.
I can't.
But I've learned, you wouldn't let me. I've learned that right now. So, not real quick. Let's do, so first of all, folks, Alex Peykoff, alexpeykoff.com, on Instagram at Alex Peykoff. Talk to me a little bit about the Satisfied Life Foundation, and I'm going to ask you, what does the Satisfied Life Foundation need?
Doesn't need much, actually, because I'm really just kind of promote my book. But what the Satisfied Life Foundation is, it's for teen rape and teen suicide. My daughter went through that journey. So what I've done with that foundation, I've raised money to help kids that were struggling with teen rape, teen suicide. But more importantly, I've helped kids that were from high school, trying to help them get into the right colleges. In the last 2 years, I've helped 16 kids get into colleges out of their environment. Most of them were from Orange County, California, and I wanted them to get out of that environment. Whether it's they're at Western Colorado or Washington State or Kentucky or WSU, Oregon, different schools like that. It's just helping them get out of this environment. But more importantly, what I'm trying to do is give back to people. People are struggling with emotional debt. They're struggling with being unhappy. 57% of the people in the world today are lonely. So I encourage people, go to my website, alexpeykoff.com. There's a little quiz on there. Take the quiz. It's going to tell you where you are emotionally, because before anybody can help you or guide you, you have to know where you are. All of us, if you go to an amusement park, what's the sign says? It says you are here. Everybody wants some guidance, but no one can help you if you don't know where you are.
That's right.
So go take that quiz. And here's what I'm going to do to everybody that's listening. Today, next year, or when I'm on Mars, go in there, take that quiz, DM me after you do it. I will give you a 30-minute free Catalyst session.
Wow.
What is Catalyst session? Sure as hell ain't coaching, because I'm not a coach, but I'm a catalyst. I'm going to open the door to you. And yes, here's the bottom line is I'm actually going to take the call. You know why? Because I got time coming out of my Wahoo, right? No, here's the secret. I freaking care.
That's right.
I mean, I'm telling you, there's text messages on my phone from people I've helped. And there are days when I'm sad just like everybody else, but I'll look at those text messages and say, wow, it was so bitching to help.
Yep.
And that's what I'm here. So do me a favor, alexpeykoff.com, go take the quiz. DM me afterwards saying I take it. I'll send you a copy of my book. We'll hop on a phone call and let's see if we can sit there and change the way we view the world.
One of the things that my son does is he reads 20 pages of a book a night, writes down what he learned from it on his power list, right? So it's cool thing is he can look back. He has 365 of them a year. He can look back and see what he did this day last year. What book, he's literally like archiving all his time.
But more importantly, is what I tell people, you have to go back and look at your journey.
Yeah.
See, he can go back a year. This is what I did. And now he can always look, I'm moving forward.
That's
right.
He's
not being stagnant. So he's on a great path.
Yeah.
But the rest of the world stops doing that.
Yeah.
You got to go back and look at your journey. And we're all writing a mother frickin' book, right? Keep on writing the chapters. Some chapters are crappy, but keep on moving forward. Celebrate your freaking wins.
He's going to do that quiz. He's going to do that quiz. I'm telling you.
The quiz is less than 2 minutes. It basically tells you where you are with your emotional debt. And then you can figure out, hey, where do we start?
This is cool. He's going to read the books too, both of them.
Cool.
Both of them.
I mean, if he's lucky, he might even sign it for him. I don't know.
Back to back, baby.
Yeah.
But no, it's Alex, I can't thank you enough for the time today. This has been selfishly exactly what the doctor ordered today for me, man. So again, you just at the National Prayer Breakfast, Haynes Torbett, the guy that brought us into that whole thing, that was the first thing he told me. He was like, dude, here, I don't know where I don't know you the rest outside of here, but here you got to be a yes man. He's like, because the Spirit's moving things here. So you got to be a yes man.
You have to be a yes man, but also you have to learn to listen and reflect.
Yep.
And you have to be say yes. I'm going to listen and I'm going to reflect, and quit trying to be the smartest person in the freaking room. Just listen.
Yep.
People want to be heard. It's not complicated. We overthink freaking things. But I'm so blessed to be here. More importantly, knowing that I impacted somebody, like I said, it's a high right on the level with creating life. It's pretty freaking spectacular, and no one can take it away.
Well, it's definitely. I'll gladly accept the invoice, but don't cash the check until Thursday. Okay.
Is that from that third party out of state check that you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and it was Diego Lorado, right? Was the name on the check?
Something like that.
Yeah. I know him. Yeah, I'll see him in Guantanamo. It'll be fine.
The Hitstreak is powered by Rack Financial. When it comes to your credit card merchant processing, Rack Financial is efficient, reliable, and trusted. At the end of the day, when it comes to processing your credit card payments, they make it simple, the way it's supposed to be. Check out Rack Financial.
Well, brother, it's again, it's such a breath of fresh air. And again, I'm extremely grateful for the hang and the relationship and everything else. What you got over there, baby?
Just want to make sure we're pushing the book.
Absolutely. hand that to me if you would, Jensen. There we go.
Oy.
Boom. So if you're watching with us, folks, here it is. The Satisfaction Guarantee. Redefine wealth, become emotionally debt-free, and unlock true fulfillment. I'm going to say something real quick about emotional debt. When you take on regular debt, you know what the interest rate is. I don't think people understand the interest rate on the emotional debt they're carrying around, do they?
First of all, home freaking run.
I give myself one.
People don't get that. That emotional debt, I had it. It kicked my ass.
Yeah.
I would not be here today until I figured out what. And that emotional debt is people have told you certain things about you that aren't true.
Yep.
You're not this, you're not that. It's all not true.
That's right.
It's super simple. And I'm telling you, it's like, this podcast speaks for itself. I mean, it's people don't get it. Yeah.
And time is the only currency that we invest daily that we don't know the current balance.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm all about this life, man. Again, this is awesome. This is awesome. And USA Today and Wall Street Journal bestselling author. As a matter of fact, I shorted you a little bit. I'm fired. It's just like, I'm like devastated right now. I don't know how to handle this. I'm feeling emotional debts coming back up. I'm feeling like this validation I had when I came in got devalued. All I can tell myself right now is I think I'm going to have to take that quiz and hop on a phone call with myself. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's the only way to do it.
Well, folks, this has been amazing. Alex, thank you, man. I appreciate you, brother. And I'm grateful for the relationship, truly.
Seriously,
truly.
Appreciate it.
So, folks, once again, the founder of the Satisfied Life Foundation and USA Today and Wall Street Journal best-selling author. Get it while you can today, the Satisfaction Guarantee. Alex Peykoff, man. AlexPeykoff.com and on Instagram at AlexPeykoff. Folks, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of The Hitstreak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.